I'm from another planet. I'm Superman.
Rock Lords.
And I got no parents either.
I got a rope. I'm Wonder Woman. I got a flashlight on my hand. I'm Green Lantern.
What's DC's equivalent of Captain America?
I guess it's really supposed to be Superman. I mean,
Yeah, I guess.
they don't really have a patriotic guy. I mean, they have a really bad version of it.
There's Aqua Sheen.
But it's like Steel something. I forget his name. Nobody knows him. Nobody cares.
No one cares.
Yeah, exactly.
Captain Quick.
Captain Quick.
He's really fast.
Toy Federation Podcast, episode 9. Take 1, Mark.
I want to show that.
About a beer. So
I don't.
See,
iPhone-
here we go again.
iPhone 15.
Yeah.
Got it. Look, do not disturb. You see it on.
I see it.
It's disturbing.
Doesn't mean it's real.
And the volume's all the way to 0. I have an idea.
Okay. What's
Well, it's better to be spontaneous.
So we're not sharing with the class today.
So we should start off with what came in the store. Like anything came in cool this week?
Oh no, wasn't
That's how Kevin Smith always does it when at the end of the show. He's like, so what came in the store this week?
what was the big trade?
What are we going?
Yeah, you've been going for about 5 minutes.
Oh, cool. That might all be good anyway.
It is good.
So what's something cool that came in today,
Today.
Andy?
I don't know. I just
Or
got
Travis.
here.
Been here all week.
Uh,
Well, how about this? We got some cool wrestling stuff.
There you go.
Shockmaster. That was cool. Went out
Comic-Con,
immediately.
Comic-Con exclusive.
Was it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
See, wrestling is not my strong suit.
Well, it was.
It's-
was it WCW?
Well, I'll preface it and I'll let you guys run with it because we bought an amazing, we just don't do toys. We're 99% toys. But we got this killer VHS lot. Killer wrestling VHS lot.
We did.
And then an awesome wrestling magazine lot. From WCW to the WWF magazine. And even some of the 70s
As I said,
magazines.
it was like NWA.
And then on top of that, we had a crazy action figure wrestling lot. And then I will let you maybe talk about, because apart from the Road Warrior guys, I don't know what we bought.
Well, I kind of barely put eyes on the lot that came in today, but all I know is it refilled the elite section, which was
Depleted.
hammered.
Yeah, wrestling's
So-
been moving like crazy lately.
Wrestling's hot. I mean, WWE's on fire right now. So the VHSs that came in, those were pretty sweet.
Now, there was one VHS in there, which somebody told me, and then I think you know, is he was like murdered in the shower or something.
Bruiser Brody.
Yeah. And that was his match.
On the, I guess the guy said it was his last match that was on the
Wow.
VHS when he came in.
It was crazy, yeah.
But I mean, that lot of VHSs, there was like, 50 something VHS.
Yeah, I just found it amazing as we were pricing. Most of them were 10, there were some 5s, but then there were some 20 and 40, $50 VHSs in there, which is crazy that, VHSs are worth more than DVDs or Blu-rays now.
Well, there was the one guy that came in and said a lot of these you had to order to get them.
Oh, right, yeah.
It wasn't available
Like
in
the
stores.
home order club or.
Right.
Or you ordered them in the back of the magazines.
Right.
Yeah.
The wrestling magazines.
Yeah. And then the one that you were referring to, the Bruiser Brody, right?
Yep.
It's like a shell case.
Yeah, it
And-
wasn't even like a licensed, like some of them say Coliseum
Yeah.
Video and it's WrestleMania 1, 2, or 3. And then this one was just like a plain, it like had no branding almost.
Yeah, it's the no fancy font. Or,
Yeah.
Or it was
I mean,
just
it
his
could be
name.
back the old school independent wrestling shows, NWA and all that, when VHS started hitting, they would sell them at shows.
Well, see,
So
because
that's what
a lot of these didn't have barcodes.
Right.
So it was like, in my mind, it wasn't put at a mass market retailer. So it was catalog or at a show.
Someone selling at a van at the show.
And then there was another. So on top of this, we didn't buy this, but I know a guy locally who deals in vintage T-shirts.
Yep.
And if I had the room and a rack to put these shirts, maybe I might consider it. But it's like, so I just called him. He came by Saturday, and he bought them. I don't know what he paid for them, but you were looking at them in full. There were some crazy shirts in there.
Yeah, I mean, so the crazy thing about wrestling shirts, just like anything, I guess 80s, 90s shirts, like the Marvin the Martian or whatever, the value on them go up drastically.
Yeah.
I mean, there's at least, like, just thumbing through them, my eyes looking at it, I know there was at least $100 shirt. There was probably a $75 shirt. Another one that was 80 maybe. But
I mean, I know that market's hot. I know nothing about it. I don't pretend to know.
yeah,
And-
we do not need a clothing haberdashery here.
And so I just passed it along to somebody,
Yeah.
did a good deed, and he showed up and he bought them all.
But no, he I know what he paid, and it was a fair.
Yeah,
It was definitely a fair price. So, but yeah, I mean, non-stop wrestling lately.
Yeah, it's been moving. And then what you guys, a couple of you went to.
We went to Monday Night Raw 2 weeks ago here in Greenville. Like I said, I've been to many events, but that's the first one I've probably been to in 8-10 years.
Oh wow!
I don't know, like for a while I got burnt out on going to the live events just because WWE wasn't as good as it had been or is now. So to me, it's like, sit at home, watch it.
So now it's strong.
Now it's strong. Yeah, it's hot. So like I said, ain't been in years, but I know you don't even know who he is. But Jey Uso, seeing his entrance
No
and like
clue.
the energy of the crowd
Yeet.
is just it's insane.
Hugging buddies. The best.
Yeah.
Right?
But no, it was a good time. We had fun.
All right. So
Uh,
I had an idea.
yeah.
Maybe it's not these guys quite yet, because these guys are nuts.
Yeah.
But I was thinking, there's so many things to talk about. But what about, like, what's a vivid memory? It's kind of like why we all do this, or what got you. It's hard to explain. So,
Like, how did Travis become Marvel Man?
is there like, like when you sit back and maybe you look at your things or you remember, there's like these memories in your brain as a child that stick with you. And like I have some specific ones that it's like I just can't forget them. And I'm curious. Like I can remember getting off the school bus. I mean, there's plenty, but there's like getting off the bus, going in the house, and getting my Chef Boyardee, heating it up, getting it in a bowl, and sitting in front of the TV just in time to start a particular cartoon.
Yeah.
And like didn't miss it. And it's like, what memories do you have like that? Like let's say with you first, Andy.
So are we talking specifically about watching cartoons or just like getting toys in general?
Well,
what we're
okay. Well, I mean, the toys for me, the cartoons were to sell toys.
right.
So I would kind of get my toys and then watch this cartoon.
Right.
Even record the cartoon with my cassette player to then play it after the fact. So I had background noise. And I don't know. I was just like, if I could find those tapes, I could play them and it would be crazy.
Core memory. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
I mean, basically like the same thing. Coming home from school, going to my grandparents' house, and it was like G.I. Joe, Transformers, Thundercats, like all the heavy hitters. Like even I remember watching like what is it? It's escaping me. The Tiger Sharks,
See, I learned about that after I
Silver
grew
Hawks.
up. I didn't even know about Silverhawks.
It was all in like a weird block.
Yeah.
Right. It was like G.I. Joe first. Transformers was later for me, but then it was like Thundercats, Silverhawks. Mask might have been
Tiger Sharks. Tiger Sharks.
And then like, I don't know, Staying Home Sick.
Oh, right, yeah.
Watch all the good stuff. You get to watch Price is Right.
It's
You
like
get to
my
watch,
tummy hurts.
yeah.
Well, Price is Right's definitely.
I mean, it's not.
Oh,
Whenever
yeah.
you stay homesick, everybody watches Price is Right.
It's not the same anymore. But,
No, but like.
Yeah, no, I remember.
right.
Yeah.
I always wanted that little Himalayan climber guy.
Oh yeah.
And it barely ever came on. That it was like,
the Mountain
no.
Yodel or
Right.
Yeah.
what's the one?
You
they
could
drop
watch it 100 times and maybe you get lucky to
They
see
drop
that.
the chip. The what is that?
Planko?
Plinko.
Plinko.
I remember
Oh,
that.
Yeah, that was. That seemed impossible. No one ever seemed to win that one.
There's a good documentary on that show where the guy had it all figured out.
Oh yeah, no, I saw
No,
that. Yeah,
or what's the other one that the guy had figured out? The whammies. Pressure to luck.
Oh, no whammies, no whammies?
Yeah. So the guy that figured that system out,
Right?
and he just like destroyed the show
Oh,
because
wow.
he figured out like the algorithm to where the thing was going. There's another documentary on that too.
Oh, wow. That's cool.
But yeah, Staying Home Sick, watching all those shows. I mean, I'd sit there and you'd watch the reruns of like I Dream of Jeannie and Bewitched and
Green Acres.
MASH or whatever came on.
Well, when I was a kid, there was only like 4 channels. Or 5, I think. You had PBS, you had ABC, NBC, CBS, and then there was like my local channel, which in
Right.
Miami was Channel 6. I think it was WDZL or something.
Got to get up and change channel.
That's where you'd watch
Both
Godzilla or
dials.
Kung Fu movies. Oh, yeah.
Oh, Kung Fu. I remember watching Kung Fu.
Yeah, Kung Fu.
I don't. Cartoons wasn't something that tied in with me and toys as much because it was. I listened to a lot of records, so
I think that was because your dad was.
he was in stereo sales
Yeah.
when before I was born, so like music was really pushed in the house. But I had like Spider-Man records, Superman.
I had those.
And I would listen to those, but for whatever reason, I always missed the He-Man cartoon, which I wanted to see so bad.
Oh, wow.
But I had the record, so to me, that version of He-Man, he was kind of a barbarian. That's what I liked, And Skeletor, geez, he was the evilest looking dude ever. But then when I guess got more into looking for something and not just, oh, cool, I got this thing from my parents. It was superheroes because I used to read my uncle's comics, and that's probably one of my earliest memories was reading a Spider-Man comic, and then going and getting a Spider-Man figure. It was like, this is so cool, and then you find out there's a figure of it. I have to have it, and then you find out there's more.
And that's the Mego?
No, that was not me. No. I saw Mego at a yard sale, and I begged Mom to get it. She wouldn't, and that stuck with me for 12 years before I got one.
It wasn't the one from kindergarten.
Uh,
Knickerbocker, right?
Oh, no, that was another one. I was there was a kid that had a Knickerbocker Spider-Man doll.
I think we set one of this in the first show.
Yeah.
So what was the first Spider-Man?
The first one was the Mattel Secret Wars red and blue suit Spider-Man. And I remember going to Kmart. I remember finding it not in the toys. And like just being so excited carrying this thing up. Can I get this? Yeah, you can get that. Oh my God. And it's going home with you. And I just, I kept that figure
Oh, I
all
don't.
my life.
Let me ask, are you allowed to bring toys to school now?
I don't know.
I don't think kids
So in first grade, second grade,
show and tell, right?
yeah, no, just in general, you had to keep them. We had like a cubby,
Yeah.
and you could take it to recess.
Yeah.
So,
Another Sky Striker over the fence.
no. So right. So Star Wars cards are out tops of Star Wars, and I remember this kid, and he brought. I didn't do it.
Pleading the fifth.
I didn't. I swear I didn't do it.
I encourage
But we were friends with him, and I think he had the Yellow Series top Star Wars cards, and they were in his cubby, and then they weren't. Somebody jacked
Someone
his
jacked.
cards.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. I remember that. I don't know. It just came to me. I also remember watching Star Blazers.
I don't remember that one.
And
I saw Thundercats a good bit because I guess the time I got home from school.
See, I associate Thundercats more like high school. And then, we weren't toys, but Chitara was nice to look at. So we were watching that. But I didn't get the figures.
I like Mum.
He's cool.
Panther. Panther was the coolest. Panther was just badass.
Snarf.
No Snarf.
No,
no. He's-
never Snarf.
He's the annoying guy you have to add to every cartoon.
Every show's
Yeah,
got one.
the annoying sprite that they're like, well, it's for the kids. It's like, well, the cartoon's for the kids. You don't need the sprite. He's just annoying. And as a kid, I thought they were annoying too. I didn't like Orko. I didn't like Snarf.
T-Bob.
I didn't like T-Bob. And I'm not saying
It's-
no one should.
And Silverhawks is a really annoying trivia kid that comes on or something and it tells you.
Copper Kid.
Well, they had the Bears.
Oh,
Right.
the Brobles, right?
Bear? I don't know.
Brobles.
Yeah, I should know, but
There's three of them.
my brain's forgetting them.
Yeah. Well, we don't.
That's
we don't
on
get
purpose because they're.
Yeah. One of the cool
Animation
things
was great.
about like the little sprite character was, He-Man made Orko, and he was a top spinner. I've heard this story multiple times where, it came with the little coin trick.
Right.
Everybody lost it. That's where the money is.
Right.
But when you spun that top, and most people had like a wooden coffee table, and this thing would leave circle scratch marks all over it. So many kids got in trouble for it. I've heard it at least 3 or 4 times. Like, I messed up my mom's coffee table when I was 5 or 6, and it's.
Well, any slime toy ruined the carpeting or whatever.
I had my slime taken away because of that.
Yeah, so I don't. It's every parent's nightmare buying your kid some ooze or slime because then then you got to take it away.
And then every toy line had slime.
Yeah.
For like 2-3 years.
Yeah, but that didn't go down in my house.
Slime is great.
Now, let me ask you this. So a lot of weekends, because of where my school was, I would get dropped off at my grandmother's. And she would take me to, so let's say I went there on a Saturday or a Friday night. I'd stay there Saturday, Sunday. And the funny thing is she didn't drive. But the school was like, it wasn't even a mile away. Well, maybe it was a little bit more. And then my grandmother would call a cab. And so this cab would come pick me up and take, I'm trying to think, when I was at that school, it was 4th grade. And I would just get in this cab with my backpack and go to this, the school down the road. But when I was at my grandmother's, and she was an amazing Italian cook, so everything was homemade. And when I kind of wasn't supposed to still get toys, when I was with grandma, I could still get toys.
Oh yeah.
But they would stay there, so they didn't go back home.
No. Yeah. I brought all my stuff home.
Just flaunting your crimes in front of your parents?
Yeah, no, that was me and my.
So
that was our
my parents
secret.
didn't care about the toys. It was the fact that so one of my grandmothers was like incredible cook also.
Yeah.
Would bake.
Everything
cookies,
was homemade.
cake, whatever.
Everything.
And of course I'd eat it when I was there, and my mom would get mad because I'd go home and I'd be like, I'm not hungry. I don't want to eat dinner because I fill up on junk.
Whenever she made a meal, there was, you have an entree and then maybe you have your sides. There would be 2 or 3 entrees.
Oh yeah.
So like if you had pasta, you had like 3 kinds of pasta.
Yeah.
Or you had steak, but then there was pasta with every meal. And the pasta she made. You didn't buy it and boil it.
Yeah.
She
No one's.
rolled the dough and made the raviolis with the fork, punching the 4 corners. So, and all the soups were homemade. The cookies at Christmas, she made all the cookies.
Holidays were. Awesome.
She'd even ship them. When she moved back to Ohio, she'd mail them frozen.
Yeah.
Yeah. It was nuts.
But then, after filling up on all these delicious treats,
Right?
Grandma, can I get a G.I. Joe?
Yeah.
Oh, well, you go to Publix. You went to the because they, and then there was even this place that I would walk to, and it wasn't a 7-Eleven. It wasn't a gas station. It was, I guess, like a 7-Eleven, but it wasn't 7-Eleven. I think it was like Utotem or something, some weird name. And I would walk there and get my packs of cards. And even if they didn't have any good cards, they had some cards. Like I remember there was a set for like, there was some cheesy movie with Bo Derek, and it was called Here's Bo.
Oh, that's so weak.
I don't even know if and I was like,
Well, it's cards.
I got to get cards.
Go.
I walked all the way there, 35 cents or whatever it is, and I'm buying a pack.
At least you got gum out of it.
Yeah. You look it up. There's a set with Bo Derek. It's called Here's Bo. And I think she's like with a Tarzan guy or something in it. I don't know.
I don't know that one.
Yeah.
Well, we've
Cracked.
we've seen cards on practically everything.
And I liked Cracked magazine. They did cards. I liked Cracked more than I liked Mad.
Outrageous.
I liked it. Then there
I
was,
liked them both, but I liked Mad more.
if you're cracked, you're crazy. I think that was like the motto. Yeah.
Then I read my uncle's Mad magazines, so that's. You know,
I think it was because Severin did a lot of the art, and maybe he worked for Mad, but I know he worked for, and that was a husband and wife, Severin. I swear it's on mute. That was eBay though. Something sold. It's good. And he did the monsters so well, and then if it was Western type things, it's the art. I just loved it. It's like I love Earl Norham and I love Severin.
is that this?
It's
Didn't his wife do illustration too?
that both of them did.
Severin, yeah.
Yeah.
That was some of the first comics I read too. She illustrated Doctor Strange,
Oh wow.
and I read that was my first exposure. That's why I've always liked Doctor Strange, and no one knew who he was for years till we got a movie. But
Oh yeah, nobody cared.
yeah, but
40 years later.
Because like in the 80s, nobody cared about Iron Man.
yeah, no one, not even in the 90s.
Not even Captain America.
They killed Iron Man in the 90s.
It was all
They brought him back as a teenager.
It was all mutants,
Yeah.
and it was like a Punisher, Spider-Man, and X-Men,
Yeah.
X-Factor. Like that was,
X-Force. XXX.
and it was G.I. Joe.
Yeah.
And Star Wars. Even though Star Wars wasn't so hot in the 80s, it still ran. But
I never really had a lot of comics. I mean, few and far between. G.I. Joe, I had a handful.
so in Miami, there was 2 shops I would go to. One was A&M Comics, which had been around the longest, to my knowledge, and then there was a place called Sunshine Comics, and it was run by a guy named Joel. And then I think when the comic market was exploding, like a lot of things, he went to 3 stores. And then when I went away to college and I went down to visit, he was down to 1 store. And then I was like, what? And then it was Half Gaming. And I was like, what's going on? And he's like, they changed the whole...
Yep.
Like you could order the books, and if you didn't sell them, you returned them. And so you could have a big wide selection. And then now it was like you had to own every book you ordered. So then you were...
Stuck with it.
So then you were more cautious on what you ordered. And
Got
so you
back
didn't...
issues.
So you didn't
Right.
get... Yeah.
A lot.
Now they're good.
And he had this really old dog, and his mom would sit there. And he was an older guy. And then his mom was sitting in a chair, and this dog. It was just, it's funny. But when I ran into Mike Zeck at a show, and I bought some prints from him, and I love Mike Zeck, just for that Punisher limited series. But I mean, he did so much stuff. But for me,
Secret Wars.
it was Punisher and G.I. Joe. And I didn't realize he was from Florida, in South Florida. And when I met him, I brought up where I was from, and then we talked, and then he's like, he knew Sunshine and he knew Joel, and he's like, I did his first fanzine, like for the shop or something. And I was like, how cool is that? He knew the shop I went to, and I was reading his comics. Yeah.
It's cool.
I always read comics. I didn't always necessarily have a lot. I mean, when you're a kid, you try to take care of them, but I think the cover came off of my Amazing Spider-Man 300,
Well, in the beginning, you got them from, before you knew about comic shops, you got them at the gas station.
Yeah. Yeah.
In that spinner rack where they're all
Yeah.
bent in half
Hanging over. Yeah.
from being thumbed through.
Well, I think I got to go to a comic store maybe around like 9 when I'd go see my dad. There was one in town, and so we went every weekend. And I regret it so bad because I don't remember the name of it because the sign just said comics on it.
Hey,
so I don't
kids,
know the name
comics.
of the
Right.
store. But yeah, went there every other weekend, and I get 2 or 3 books each time, and they almost always were Spider-Man.
Of course.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I got other stuff, but
I remember the first Batman comic I had, and it was at a gas station. And you may know the issue, and we may have even talked about this before, but I always in my mind it had a Ferris wheel, and the Joker's on it or something.
Is it a Neal Adams book?
I couldn't tell you. I'd have to figure out what
Yeah.
it is. It was 70s.
I mean, that put it in the right place, but I mean, he wasn't the only one to
Did I tell you my Neal Adams story?
tell us the Neal Adams story.
So Batman, my favorite Batman is how Neal Adams drew Batman.
Yeah.
That look, to me, from a comic book standpoint, is my favorite.
Well, he took Batman out of the TV show, which was campy, silly.
Yeah.
He made him spooky and dark, and that was awesome.
So he was at a show, I think it was in Tennessee, that I was set up at. I think. And I went up to him, and I didn't have a whole lot of extra, trying to get this whole con thing going, supplementing income because the online was off, and trying to
Just a humble toy man.
trying to pay the bills, right? And and it's like, I can't take the money I just made in the booth that needs to go to pay rent or pay utilities and make a stupid purchase.
Buy a comic book.
And so I go into the booth, and Neal Adams has this crazy setup,
Yeah.
It's huge. It's all his works, which is endless.
Yeah.
And I'm like, he's charging $500 a sketch. But, hey, it's what, he can command it. And he had one of his books there, and I'm like, how much if you do a little, like the term is a remark.
Right.
So you do a little 30-second, 10-second. It's like if you meet Kevin Eastman, he does it in Turtlehead.
Yeah.
5 seconds. So I said, I want a little remark. I think I said doodle. And he says, I'm Neal effing Adams. I don't doodle. But he said it wasn't being mean. I didn't take offense. He was smiling when he said it, and I'm like, you're right. It's Neal Adams. You don't doodle. And he's like, but you picked that book, pay me $500, this would be the best damn thing you've ever seen. But I didn't have $500, so I didn't pay him. And now he's passed, so that's. But it was a cool little story that I had with him.
I met him years after you met him, but I kind of went up and talked to him, and we had a really, really good conversation just in general about comics. And it wasn't about what he did or what was going on. It was just talking about comic books. And such a cool guy. And he said, oh, so you got something here for me to sign? I was like, hey, yeah, here you go, and sign. And it's like, how much how much is the, and he's like, eh. And he was charging for autographs, but we had a cool conversation.
Right.
So like, he didn't charge me. Which
Somebody also said if his wife's not around, you get better deals.
right.
Somebody did tell me that.
So did you ever end up with anything signed by him?
I think I have something signed by him because somebody sold me something in the shop that I kept. But I did get the experience, so I did meet him.
Right.
And that was kind of the important part to me. And then Stan Lee's another guy that I never got to meet. I had signed stuff by him. And then he was at Wizard World in Atlanta. It was a horrible show. And they never brought it back there. And now I don't even think they exist anymore. But and they made an announcement because I was stuck working the booth. And they said, the show's closing in an hour. Last call for Stan Lee. So I had somebody watch the booth and I ran over there. And it was $100. And so you had to buy the ticket from the booth and then you take the ticket and then you go to Stan Lee. There was nobody there. But the show was weird. It was dead. And there was a girl massaging his back. And then there was a guy next to him. And then if you read into the whole Stan Lee, the way it went towards the end and how the people who were with him were taking advantage and so I give the ticket and I didn't want Stan Lee from a cameo from a Marvel movie. I wanted him in his sweater and his slacks.
Yeah.
And they had a shot
Stan
like
Lee, you know and love.
right. So I picked that and I pull my phone out and I'm going to video him signing my piece. And the guy's like, no filming.
Yep.
And I'm like, but I want to document him signing this for me. And then the guy's like, well, I'm not going to fight you over it. I was like, okay. So I just filmed it and got my autograph and left. And then I saw them go behind the curtain and there was tables, rows of tables, like multiple tables long, full of all this product.
Yeah, for him to sign.
That he had to go back and sign that he probably didn't see any of the money for.
Yeah, probably not.
Stan, you did $1,000 today. And then it did it, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah. And they were massaging him to keep him fresh.
Ugh. I mean,
But I got to meet him at least.
I met him twice, but the second time I didn't get anything signed. I just said hello to him, you know. The first time I had a table and I was selling a book that I had put together with somebody else, and then I couldn't really leave, and I told the people in charge of the show, I was like, I've already paid for these, and I'm seeing this line. I'm like, I can't do both. Is there any way I can like leave something here or some other way? And they're like, just okay. And they put me at the front of the line. Like, I felt kind of bad because like, I knew a lot of the people were going to be waiting, but I just, and he signed my, I think I had 2 autographs, and then that was $100.
They knew you were going to be Marvel Man someday.
Right. Took over the crown.
I must say.
Took over the crown.
The crown goes to you. But I wish I could have talked to him, but also it was the line was wrapped all the way around the building. And then the second year he came, I think it was Peter Laird was there, and his line was way short, and he was
They sold something again.
$50 more.
Of
to
course.
Get it. So I was like, I don't have 150. I thought it would be 100.
Inflation.
Yeah, inflation.
Marvelflation.
But yeah, I do love comics. And you probably did the same. You go meet somebody, get an autograph, but like it doesn't matter to you necessarily about the autograph. It is the experience.
Well, yeah, you want the experience. Yeah. I mean, the autograph is like a memento of the experience.
Right.
But it's not, because you could just go on eBay and buy an autograph.
Yeah.
Doesn't mean it's real, but unless it's certified. But then,
I met Bernie Wrightson.
Right.
And I had a House of Secrets 92. That was the first Swamp Thing, and Swamp Thing #1. And such a great guy. And he's talking to me, and he starts signing the Swamp Thing 1. And he saw that I wanted him to sign on the inside, and he just went to the cover. And he's like, "I'm so sorry." I'm like, No.
Buy me a new one.
Well, I mean, he drew that.
Yeah, he
so
could do.
I'm not gonna sign it wherever.
Yeah.
But then the next one, he's like, "I'll sign this on the inside." And I was like, "Thank you so much." And then like the next year, I saw him it was at an art auction, and he was outside smoking, and I walked up, and just having a beer with him, talking, and another guy walks up, and they start talking about comics, and I'm talking about it, and in the middle of it, I'm like, that's Jim Starlin, and he just got through filming his cameo in Endgame.
Oh, cool.
So he's at the very beginning of the movie in the little help circle thing.
Yeah.
And that's to me, like, when I look at that signature, I remember that he signed it on the outside, then apologized, which he shouldn't have.
Ruined my comic.
And then he hung out with me. So it's like, yeah, I love that, and I don't,
Yeah.
that's all,
I met Bernie at I think it was MegaCon in Orlando in the late 90s, maybe.
Mhm.
And he was selling some creation of his that was on a floppy disk.
Yeah. Was it the Frankenstein book that he did, or?
I don't think it was that. But I have the floppy disk, and it's like in an envelope, and there's a floppy disk inside, and it's signed, and the comic, I guess, or something's
It
on
was a digital comic.
Yeah.
He
So I have that. Which, I don't think
Is that
I have
like the first digital comic.
a computer that can hold a
I
floppy
was gonna
disk.
say,
yeah. Well, yeah.
But it's signed, so it's cool.
No, he tried that. I think a couple other people did too, but
It's ahead of his time.
he was, and then but then I don't know. Comics didn't go digital like people thought. They did and they didn't. Like, yeah, you can read comics digital, but if you like it, you're gonna go buy it anyway.
Something about owning it physically.
I have the paper copy. It's real.
graded in case.
Graded and case it. All right, so that's it for this one. We appreciate you guys listening or watching, and spread the
Next
word.
time, tell the mailman.
Tell the mailman. We're good?
Yep.
Tell the dad at the grill with the
It was back and to the left.
You have to
Back-
do two taps. Two taps.
It's one of my favorite movies, JFK. Really. Everybody's in it.
Yeah, no, it's awesome. It's
And there's a classic Seinfeld episode about it.
oh yeah, that was such a.
It was
good
a spitter,
episode.
right?
Yeah, the spitter.
Yeah.
Yeah, and they kept saying it was this baseball player. I forget who.
I forget, yeah. Is
Yeah.
that the one that
Um,
wants to be friends with Jerry and then Eileen, or what's her name dates? I don't know.
Yeah. He
Elaine.
wanted to date
Elaine.
Elaine,
Right.
and
It's kind of using Jerry to get to.
right, and then the retelling was done exactly the way JFK was, and of course,
I don't
this
even
guy-
know if I think we're mixing two episodes, but
what?
is that the same episode?
Yeah,
The
yeah,
dating one and the JFK?
Yeah, the baseball player was. They said he was the spitter,
Oh, right.
and he was
And
hanging around
Newman.
him now. Yeah, and he wanted to
Right.
date Elaine,
Right.
but I think she was on the fence because, like, did he spit? I don't want to date a spitter, And then the retelling was the JFK bit.
Right,
because
right.
It was, and
Right.
of course Newman was there.
Newman.